Jaya, do you know the song? Jaya Radha Madhava? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jaya Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So, where are we? At the beginning? Did we finish? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna? We finished the last verse. Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 23rd day of March, 2026 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad-gītā as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are beginning the book again with the preface. And so I'll read this preface and then we'll go into the introduction. Srila Prabhupada writes, Originally I wrote the Bhagavad Gita as it is in the form in which it is presented now. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was, unfortunately, cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanations for most of the original verses of the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. In all of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Ishopanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse, its English transliteration, word for word Sanskrit English equivalents, translations, and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand for the Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural, and transcendental, due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna consciousness movement in America. But actually, the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself, since it was started a very long time ago, but is coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but is due to my eternal spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya 108 Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher, or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says, Manmanam Bhavaman Bhakto, Manjaji Mam Namaskuru, etc., we, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon the Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Bhashya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand the Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of the Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead. Our only purpose is to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma, or every 8,600,000,000 years. This purpose is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of the Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret the Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of the Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society in fulfilling the mission of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this is so is explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of the Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead people regarding right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest. People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts, every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand the central point of the Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of the Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, 12th May 1971, Sydney, Australia. Okay. So, one note, I just want to make it clear, you may have noticed that whenever it said Bhagavad Gita here, not Bhagavad Gita as it is, because that's the title of this particular book, Bhagavad Gita as it is. But when Prabhupada just spoke of Bhagavad Gita, I inserted the word the there. And just to let you know, one backing for that, because the book didn't, as you see, this edition didn't have it, but I think in later editions, is that when Srila Prabhupada published his first book, which was the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, in India, it's a whole history there. He did it on his own. He raised the money. It took 4 years to publish those 3 books, 3 volumes of the first canto. So he often quoted the Bhagavad Gita. There he didn't have diacritics or anything like that. So it's the Bhagavad-gītā, B-H-A-G-W-A-T space G-E-E-T-A. It was always the. He put the in there. Now, that's the only book that he published, the first volume, where, actually I think the 2 other volumes too, where he got the proofs from the printer and he made notes and corrections were made. So wherever it may have said Bhagavad Gita, he put the in there. It's just like when I was going through, the first book I did was Ishopanishad. And because in the introduction, Prabhupada dictated this, I think, and it was mostly just Bhagavad Gita. And partially, I think, Prabhupada did that because he's dictating it, and it saved time, saved whatever. That became the standard. Even when Prabhupada would say the Bhagavad Gita later on the tape, they would take it out, the. to make it Bhagavad Gita. But do we ever say, I'm reading Bible and then I'm going to go on to Quran? Does anyone ever say that? You get a lot of, heat from the Christians and the Muslims if you do that, right? That's the dua is a way of honoring the book. This like you have at the end of each chapter. Thus ends the chapter of you would say the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. But if you say you have Srimad, you don't need the da. The Srimad serves in place of the da. So we took that da out. But the rest of the book we put the da in. So just be aware of that. And that's true of all the books that we are reviewing and start going on in the Bhagavatam also. Okay, with that introduction, Prabhupada, the preface of the book describes why and how the book came to be. So Prabhupada is giving this answer. Now, I think before we even read that, all right, let's see. We skipped over setting the scene, so we're going to go with that. And we want to read also, right at the beginning here, the pages don't have any numbers, but it's Roman numeral number 5, right after the title page and the copyright page, and you have the dedication. To Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, who presented so nicely the Govinda Bhashya commentary on the Vedanta philosophy. So Baladev Vidyabhushan was a great disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? I think so, yeah. So the history was, the Govinda Bhashya, as Prabhupada mentions, it's a commentary. It's a Gaudiya Vaishnava commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Now, Lord Chaitanya didn't write one, because he declared the best commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam itself. You see? So why do we need another one? But as Lord Chaitanya's movement grew, and the Govinda deity escaped from Vrindavan when the Muslims came, right? So they took the Govinda deity to Jaipur. Now, why is it called Jaipur? It means the city of victory, because the whole city is surrounded by mountains, so it is easily defended. The Muslims didn't conquer that city, you see. So it was a safe place for the deity. So the deity went there. They had a beautiful temple, and to this very day, it's a center of life in that for the devotees there. Everyone goes to Mangalarti there. So, in that city, Govinda was being worshipped nicely. This is the same Govinda that I think was installed on. No, that's different. This was Rupa Goswami's deity. And Aurangzeb wrecked the temple. He was a Muslim leader, and so they escaped and took the deity to Jaipur. So in Jaipur, the priests there were saying that, well, you don't have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, so this disciplic session is in question, and so they didn't they were questioning the authenticity of the priest and everything, So it was understood that we needed to have that. So they went to Vishwanath Chakravarti, but he was kind of old at that time. And so his prime disciple was Baladev Vidyabhushan. Now, Vidyabhushan is an epithet. It means like it's a title he won. Just like we have Krishnadas Kaviraj. He wasn't born with that time, but he was such a wonderful poet. Means the king of poets. We have our own Kaviraj Das here. Kavi is poet, and Raj is king. So he earned that title by his Govinda Lilamrita. Wonderful book. So this Vidya Bhushan means with the ornament of knowledge. It's an honorific that honors a person who's very learned. So he took on the role of writing that commentary, and he called it the Govinda Bhashya because he went to Govinda deity and he prayed that I think he had some indication the garland fell down or something. So he felt that Govinda was writing it through him. He was just the stenographer. So that's why it's called Govinda Bhashya. It's very famous. I have a translation of that if you're interested in. Okay, introduction. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chukshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supatantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? That's the translation to the second verse there. And this next one is also part of the Mangalacharana. Mangalacharana means a series of verses, as we see here, introducing a major literary work, which you honor the previous acharyas and also offer prayers to Krishna and everything. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Padajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Oh, my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the coward men and the lover of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Bindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sate Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Interruption for a little Sanskrit point. Everyone says Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, but those eyes at the end of Gaurangi, Vrindavaneshwari, and Devi are short. They're not Devi, but it's Devi. Why? Because it's vocative. Oh, Gaurangi, oh Vrindavaneshwari, you see? And therefore you have that short. So just a note. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. See, he's addressing directly. And you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Now this one we should all know. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu behevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Okay, one note before I continue. I'm on a email group that's written by Bhakti Vikas Swami. And he sends out often a lot of quotes that he finds and comments and things every day, or almost every day. So today he had a little quote from, I forget who had written it, but he was writing about Shyamsundar, the original Shyamsundar, who traveled with Prabhupada early on. He was the one who pioneered meeting the Beatles and everything, you know. So this was a quote, and Prabhupada was saying, why haven't you learned the Sanskrit pronunciation? You're traveling with these so long, you still haven't learned how to pronounce the Sanskrit? It's very important. So here's a little note about this Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, which we say every morning. Those who are here from Mangalartik or listening, you know. The general tendency is to, when we have long A's, to make them short, you know. So this will become, you know, it sounds, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, instead of Vancha. Vancha, it's a whole different word. So I once realized, if you say Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, it's a whole different meaning. Vanchaka means to cheat. And Alpa means small. So you have Vanchaka, Alpa, Tarubhyas. You have, I offer my obeisances, not that they're desire trees, that the devotees are desires, but that they're small cheating trees. Do you really want to do that? So next time we say, make sure it says Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha. Okay. To keep those long A's. Okay. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas, and all the others in the line of devotion. And this one we should know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, now Prabhupada begins his introduction after that. Offering obeisances. It's a common thing. The Bhagavad Gita is also known as the Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of the Bhagavad Gita is Lord Sri Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of the Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod, and certainly here the Bhagavan designates Lord Sri Krishna as a great personality. But at the same time, we should know that Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great acharyas, spiritual masters, like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, of whom today is the appearance day, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord himself also establishes himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and he is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavat Purana, Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. That's a famous line from the verse in the second chapter of the first canto. Ete Changsa Kalapungsa Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. He just listed many of the avatars. You know, there's Matsya, the fish incarnation, and Lord Nrsimhadev. There's a whole list, there's 10 or so. And at the end he says, Ete Changsa Kalapungsa. All of these are parts of, plenary parts of the Lord. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. And Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, we should take the Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the Personality of Godhead himself. In the 4th chapter of the Gita, 4:1-3, the Lord says, Imam vivastade yogam. So we haven't chanted a verse, so let's chant these verses. I'll chant, you chant. Imam vivastade yogam. Bhoktavan aham avyayam. Vivasvamanave praha. Manurikshvakave bravit. Evam parampara praptam. Imam raja shayo viduhu. Sakale neha mahata. Yogo nashtak parantapa. Sehe vayam mayateja. Yoga prokta puratanaha. Bhakto sime sakacheti. Rahasyam yetaruttamam. What's the matter? You haven't learned to pronounce it with Sanskrit already? It's been 3-4 years. Okay, just quoting Prabhupada. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god by the Lord himself. And the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. By the way, at the end of this whole introduction, you see the whole disciplic succession listed, beginning with Krishna, down to Prabhupada. Krishna, tells Arjuna that he is relating this supreme secret to him, Arjuna, because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that the Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, disciplic succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others, and it was Krishna's wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that the Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but briefly, it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways, and then he gives them. These are called the 5 different rasas. One may be a devotee in a passive state. 2, one may be a devotee in an active state. 3, one may be a devotee as a friend. 1 may be a devotee as a parent. 1 may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. So that passive state, that's called Shanta Ras. And it's just like it said, one of Krishna's is Krishna's flute. He doesn't do anything. He just waits there for Krishna to pick him up, But he's performing that's a service. But he's not in an active state. Then you have, so many servants. And the servants, don't have to necessarily be human. The cows are serving Krishna. They're going out, coming, giving milk, and then Radharani comes, takes the milk, makes it into delicious food and offers it to Krishna. The cows are very important. The trees, the water, everything is conscious there. And then, of course, the friends, and it's and each of the next rasa contains the previous one. The friends are also servants, they're intimate servants, but they're more intimate with Krishna, and they please him by playing with him and joking with them, and teasing him sometimes, And so they're in the Sakya Ras. And then there's Krishna's parents, headed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, And they, none of these, the friends, they don't see Krishna as God. That's important, because that would kind of ruin the relationship. Then they would be all in awe and reverence. They'd be afraid of Krishna. They wouldn't tease him. What kind of a big man are you, Or you see there's this passage in the Nectar of Devotion where they're out sitting on the bank of the river or something, and they're eating these nice milk sweets, So one of them says, Krishna, close your eyes and I'm going to put a nice sweet in your mouth. Says, okay, And he picks a little flower and puts it in there. And Krishna, so they're teasing him. You can't do that if you're in awe of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please forgive me, No, it's not like that. Krishna, he enjoys that he enjoys being teased, and joking with his friends. And then, of course, the parental ras, then Mother Yashoda sees Krishna as this helpless boy, so she has to feed him and care for him, and she panics, what happened? He's taken away by Trinavarta, the tornado demon. Where's my son? She's lying on the ground crying, like a mother cat, like a cow that has lost its calf, And then, of course, how can this little baby do it? But he strangled the big demon up in the sky. He comes crashing down, and Krishna's not hurt. He's just playing on the body of the demon. Mother says, "Oh God!" So you see, he's churning up these very intimate emotions with him. And then, of course, the gopis. They're the best servants. They also maintain Krishna. They're like that. So that's what you have. These five rasas. Arjuna was in a relation with Krishna as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship, which cannot be had by everyone. Of course, everyone has a particular relation. Everyone has a particular relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present status of our life, not only have we forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we've forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being, out of the many, many billions and trillions of living beings, has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called the Swarup. By the process of devotional service, one can be revive that Swarup, and that stage is called Swarup Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjun was a devotee, and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. How Arjun accepted this Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance is given in the 10th chapter, 10:12 to 14. So, maybe those who've been in this class for a while know that there's these 4 essential verses in the Bhagavad Gita, leading up to this 10:12, in other words, 8, 9, 10, and 11, where Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate iti mudbhavachante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. This is the defining quality of God, the source of everything. Yeah, so it's, I am the source of everything, he says right there. In the Bhagavatam, there are similar four, and it begins, Krishna's not speaking. He is speaking, I'm sorry, he's speaking to Brahma. Ahame vasame vagre nanya yatsada satparam. He says the same thing in different ways. He says, before there was anything, it was me. In other words, I'm not created by anyone. I'm the source of everything. Sarva karana karanam, says the Brahma Samhita. The source of the cause of all causes. That's the basic definition of God. So after he says that, and then he says, I'm the cause of everything, everything is cause may be. One who understands this worships me with all his heart. Then the question is how? Matchittam agatam prana bodhayantak parasparam katayantastamam tushanti chadamanticha. He says that Matchitta, the first thing to put their mind on me, they think of me. That's always the first one. Manmana bhavamat bhakti. Madgata prana. Then they dedicate their lives to me, their life energy, you see, in service. And what do they do for recreation? They meet together and glorify me. Bodhayantak paraspadam. They're always glorifying me. And this way they're enjoying transcendental happiness. Tushanti chadamanticha. They feel very satisfied and enjoy transcendental bliss. And the basic form of glorification together? Hare Krishna, Sankirtan. I chant, you hear, you chant, I hear. Everyone's eligible. You don't have to go to the Himalayas, to practice pranayama. You just So then what happens? So what does Krishna do on his side? Because this is bhakti, So then he says, Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam yena mamapi yandite. So he reciprocates to those, and I think those can also mean those who are worshiping me, like I just described in the previous verse, always thinking about me and glorifying me. Tesham, those who are always linked to me in this way, by thinking about me, glorifying me, and serving me. Bhajatam priti purvakam, with love and devotion, worshiping. Then what do I do on my side? The dami buddhi yogam tam, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Because after all, he's within the heart, right? And then the last verse is this is of the 4. Tesham eva nakampartam mahama jnana jamta mahan nashiyam yatma bhavasto jnana deepena basvata. In the heart of all, anukampa. This is a very great word, There's so many words that mean compassion in Sanskrit. But kampa, we sing it, those who are in Mangalartik, there's a couple of us here. You're not usually there. You come later for class. But the first thing we say, samsara dava nadadita loka, right? Tranaya karunya ganaganatvam. What is that describing? We are burning in this fire of samsara, birth, old age, disease, and death. We understand. But the spiritual master, he has appeared just like a cloud raining down mercy, full of extinguishing that fire. Tranaya. Tranaya means to deliver or save. So aren't you grateful to the person? You're in a forest fire and he comes with a helicopter and saves you, pulls you out of somehow. Or in the middle of the ocean, right? And he comes with a boat here, take this. Thank you so much. So the first thing is this gratitude. So Krishna, he's feeling compassion, anukampa. Now kampa is, the next verse of that, it says, Mahaprabhu Kirtanam Gita's Mahaprabhu Kirtanam Gita Vadita Maran Manasora Sena. So he's teaching us how to worship Krishna through the Mahaprabhu, following Lord Chaitanya's line. And he's feeling these ecstatic symptoms, one of which is kampa, trembling of body, right? Tears coming, hair standing on end, trembling of body, there's a bunch of them. So Krishna says anukampa. he's trembling in sympathy with us, seeing the suffering of his devotees, and he wants to save us. So it's a sign of his caring for us. It's compassion. That's what it means, compassion. So he says, Tesham anukampartam, ahama jnana jamtamaham nashayami. Being in their heart as the super soul, I destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So these are the 4 essential verses. The one is Krishna says, I am God, I am the source of everything. Okay, but that's a little dry, But my devotees, then how can you recognize that? Always think of me and serve me with great devotion, Bodhi and glorify me and feel bliss that way. Then I will give you more and more intelligence how you can act and increase your relationship and your understanding of me. And from within your heart, I will instruct you, how to perfect your life. So these 4 essential verses, and then Prabhupada is quoting the next verse. Arjuna responds, "Oh, I agree. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavatram, Paramam Bhavan." And then he goes on, I'll just read the English. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyas confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality." So this is also, Prabhupada says in the preface, right? If one wants to really understand this Gita, you should receive it as Arjuna received it, who understood it. And so this mood should also be ours. Accepting Krishna as God, that He is, will enlighten us if we follow His orders, and then understand that that this isn't just some made-up thing, or that these great sages and devotees like Narada and Vyas and so forth are confirming. So this is a very important part of the Gita. And we'll get to it as time goes on. After hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted Krishna as Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman. Every living being is Brahman, spirit, but the Supreme Living Being, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Brahman. Param Dhamma means that He is the supreme rest or abode of everything. Pavitra means that He is pure, untainted by material contamination. Purusham means that He is the supreme enjoyer. Shashvatam, eternal. Divyam, transcendental. Adi Devam, the original person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Ajam, the unborn. And Vibhum, the greatest. Now, there needs to be a comma there. Now, we'll put that in later. Now, one may think that because Krishna was the friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this by way of flattery. But Arjuna, just to drive out this kind of doubt from the minds of the readers of the Bhagavad Gita, substantiates these phrases in the next verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only by himself, but by authorities like Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasadeva. These are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever Krishna says to be completely perfect. Sarvam etad ritam manye. That means I accept it's true. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand, and that He cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So how can a human being understand Lord Shri Krishna without becoming His devotee? And that's affirmed near the end of the book in the 18th chapter. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvata. I can be understood in truth only through the process of devotion, because it's a process of revelation. He sees that we're sincere, we're trying to serve Him out of love, and He progressively reveals Himself according to our sincerity. Very natural. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in the spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So according to the statements of the Bhagavad Gita, or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we should at least theoretically accept Shri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand the Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of the Bhagavad-gītā is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man, and that includes women, of course, human being, every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad-gītā was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal. But somehow or other, we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, now just one note on this word of asat and sat. Not existing is something that may be temporary. You know, just like a movie. You know, you used to go to movies many years ago, and you know that it's not for real, right? It's somebody's ideas, but you accept the reality temporarily in order to enter into it, so if it's convincing. Then, you know. So similarly, this is a whole movie. You know, it's a whole display of the material energy. But none of it is sat, or has reality, ultimately, because it's all turned to dust. Whatever we have, right? Even every one of us, we may have so many things: a little bank account, a little this, a little that, a little health, you know. But it's all going to be taken away. When the body finally goes, then what's left of what we built up? Like these multi-billionaires, 100 billionaires, you know, I mean, it's insanity. They're going to leave the body that was named. I'm not going to name any one of them, but you know the names. And all that money is in a bank account with the name of that body on it, not their future body, which may not even be human. So what did they gain by that? They had for a little while, you know, I'm the fourth richest man in the world. I'm the richest man in the world, you know. So what? It's such a foolish, you know, thing. Understanding, but that foolishness is only understood when you accept as truth the basic tenet of the Bhagavad-gītā, that we're never born and we never die, that we lived before many lives and we came to this human form of life, and it's not a pleasant thing, you know. Any of us growing old, there's nothing pleasant about it. This disease. I just heard, by the way, Mukunda Goswami is in the hospital in Australia. He has blood on his brain. It's a serious situation. So, you know, one by one, these original devotees are not going to be around anymore. But he, you know, surrendered. He was a very key figure, as we all know, back in New York in 1966, helping Prabhupada found the movement. He founded 26 Second Avenue Place, and you know, and then the whole incredible adventure in England, the Beatles. He was an accomplished musician. And he and Shama Sundar had a great rapport with the Beatles, and the whole thing really was very important. He was a very important figure in the movement. So we should give him pray for his recovery. Okay, it's getting a little late. Let's see. What did I read? Asat refers to which does not exist. So that's the paragraph we're on. Okay, I'll read that one paragraph, and we'll have a few little poems. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about their position as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all suffering, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra 111, this inquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa. And the sutra is in its entirety, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, meaning now, therefore. I always wondered, what is this? You start a book with the word therefore? Yeah, because it's understood this book is coming, it's the Anta to all the Vedas, or all the other Vedas, Upanishads, everything that come before. It says, now that you've come to the human form of life, therefore you should inquire into Brahma, into the absolute truth. Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the Absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they come from and where they shall go after death are proper students for understanding the Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna. Okay, so all right, we'll read one more paragraph. But Prabhupada, I just want to make this point. I was listening recently. This why question. There's an Upanishad called the Kena Upanishad. Kena means why, you know. In other words, you don't just accept, well, this is the way human life is, so let me enjoy as much as I can, you know, and then I'll cease to exist when I die. No, you have to really go, well, why am I suffering? Why is there so much suffering? Not just but I see innocent people, you know, babies getting killed. I mean, what's going on here? You know. So if you come to the Bhagavad Gita, you'll find, oh, karma, reincarnation, previous life is explaining it, you know. So that, and then from there, you say, the next question, well, how can we get out of it, the suffering? And that's the process of yoga, specifically Bhakti Yoga. But that why, probably I heard a lecture that said that human beings have to come to that point. I said, why? Otherwise they're not human. Mostly it's how. How can I enjoy? How can I make this money? How can I cheat that person? You know, not how. Why? All right, one more. Lord Krishna descends specifically to reestablish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. Even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position, and for him this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all swallowed by the tigress of nescience, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Okay, so we'll stop there, and I want to, because I don't think you haven't heard any of my poetry before, have you? So we have a new student here. The rest of you have heard this. You can actually go do something else if you want to. But tigress is female. He's saying that nescience is female. Yes, because it's Maya. It's Durga, the material energy, in the form of a female. Okay, which paragraph did I read? Is it the last one on this page? Being, okay, I'm putting this carefully here. Okay, so this is a poem I wrote called The Fall and Redemption of the Soul. They've heard it many times. Or you can go do something else if you want. Anyway, where Krishna lives, now it's a little bit difficult maybe for the vocabulary. Felicity means happiness. Where Krishna lives, felicity abounds with pure simplicity, and loving sensibility all serve him with humility. But when a living entity rejects his true identity and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity, he loses all sagacity and with it all capacity to understand reality or curb his sensuality. Abandoning humility, he touts his own ability, forgetting his fragility and fortune's volatility. Immersed in asininity for what seems that's stupidity. Immersed in asininity for what seems an infinity of lives devoid of piety, suffers an anxiety till contact with God's devotee, perhaps of utmost brevity, awakens his affinity for words of the divinity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and casts away his vanity. Endowed with new humility, he serves with all ability and growing spontaneity his guru and the deity. Regaining his identity, the wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. That's the whole program in a nutshell. And here is a real nutshell verse. Every body dies. Who can deny it? Every single body dies, right? So everybody dies, nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. I've fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is there in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hands and pull me out. You see? Okay, here's a verse that's pure nectar. You can think of this verse when the curtain's open. It's about Krishna. You can visualize. Giridhari. Maduram maduram vapadasya vibhor. Maduram maduram vadanam maduram. Madugandhi madusmitame maduram 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 maduram. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweet is still his face so fair. But his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. This is Bilba Mangal Thakur in his Krishna Karnamrita. Oh boy, we still have time. Any special requests?
Come on. You have a favorite. I know you do. All right. This is verse 1, number 1 of the Tribhangi Chanda Stava. This is part of what I call Rupa rap. Okay, you ready? Yamalajana bandana mashita dandana mahiganjana ganalasa badam pashapala padandana mabasita kandana matisundana madavinda kadam Vadagoba vadujana vidichita pujana mundukujana namavenu dadam Smadanama vichakshana makalabhalakshana tunalakshana manidakshadam. You broke the 2 Himalayan trees. You love to delight your pure devotees. You crushed the pride of the Kali snake with your prancing dance in the Yamuna lake. You're the coward's prince and a life and soul. To serve you with love is their only goal. In the caves you meet the gopis fair and enjoy sweet loving pastimes there. You're dashing, clever, and most debonair. Your lotus hands give blessings rare. To worship you again and again is the way of the wives of the cowherd men. When the gopis hear the flute you hold, their passion grows 1,000-fold. Of amorous choking, you're the king. Indeed, you're skilled at everything. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. We'll proceed with the introduction tomorrow and the next day.